Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And in today's video, we really need to transport directly into the Liberal Hive Mind. And that's exactly what it is. It's a hive mind. It's a cult. I have never seen such delusion in my entire life. I mean, it's just crazy, just existing on Twitter and sometimes going down the Twitter rabbit hole and seeing these horrid, and I mean absolutely horrid political takes from Twitterati lefties. It just baffles the mind. You know, when you think to yourself, who in their right mind would ever vote for Joe Biden? How is it even possible after everything you've seen over the last 8 or 7 months that you still support the guy, that he had a low 50s approval rating in the first place? But those people exist, and they're a very, very special breed, the vote blue no matter who crowd, and that's exactly what I want to focus on for this video. Kayleigh Mcenany stated an objective fact on Fox News. I mean, something you just can't argue with, and the Twitter left absolutely lost their minds. So let me show you guys exactly what Kayleigh said, and then let's go over the response from the Twitter left, and go over the phenomenon of the vote blue no matter who crowd, delve into the mind of the liberal hive mind. It's gonna be a wild ride, but before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright guys, so here's the Fox News clip of Kayleigh Mcenany saying a basic statement that had the left up in arms.
Right. We are 8 months into a Biden presidency, Jesse. Wrap your head around that. We still have 3 years and 4 months left. Look, when President Trump was president, you didn't see crisis after crisis. You just didn't see it. I am shocked.
When Donald Trump was president, you didn't see crisis after crisis, of course implying like you are seeing under Joe Biden. And so once again, Democrats are on the losing side of an issue. I mean, just the meme of the day for this video basically puts it all into perspective. The border meltdown, the economic meltdown, the Afghanistan meltdown, the law and order meltdown, all of them directly associated to Democrat lack of leadership or incompetent policy. Those crises are in their hands. We saw none of that under Donald Trump's presidency. It was a whole boatload of conspiracy and Trump derangement syndrome, but no real crisis. And so automatically you have to assume Democrats are arguing in bad faith. And of course, that's exactly what they're doing. Take a look at some of these responses. This individual writes, "Note to Kayleigh Mcenany, the reason we didn't see crisis after crisis during the last administration is because it all blended together into one huge cluster F cesspool that took 81 million of us to clean up. Thanks for trying though," with a painting nails and martini emoji. Now, how many times do I have to explain to Democrats, being sassy is not an argument? Kamala Harris proved that during her debate against Mike Pence. But you're gonna see a trend here. All of their responses lack factual basis. They're not gonna point to a legitimate crisis. They're either gonna attack in an ad hominem fashion, or they're gonna make this wide, bold claim without any data, without any sources, without any facts whatsoever, which can all be summed up essentially into orange man bad, and I've pretty much lost my mind. Take a look at the trend. This individual writes, "Every day of the Trump administration was a crisis." That's not a crisis. That's you being an emotionally unstable man-child who didn't like the results of a presidential election. And another one, "Kayleigh's correct. It was one continuous crisis known as the term." Kayleigh Mcenany says when Trump was president, we didn't see crisis after crisis. Listen up, BS Barbie. Here we go again, the tolerant, compassionate left launching ad hominem sexist attacks towards Kayleigh Mcenany. "I've been around the block. I know a crisis when I see one. Trump's entire presidency was one of the worst crises this country has ever seen." You know a crisis when you see one, yet you fail to name a single one. And they just sum it all up as Donald Trump was a crisis because they had their feelings hurt by a couple mean tweets. Actually, Kayleigh is right. Trump crisis never stopped. His entire presidency was one big crisis. We never had one single day of peace. You never had one single day of peace because you created an entire persona around hating Donald Trump. He took over your entire life for 4 years because you just couldn't accept that he had beat your girl Hillary. It's that simple. Losing an election to a perceived evil orange man is not a crisis. Here we go with another genius political take. Okay, wait for it. Kayleigh Mcenany actually just said on Fox when President Trump was president, you didn't see crisis after crisis. OMG, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. That's not an argument. OMG with 4 exclamation marks is not an argument. Being sassy is not an argument. Orange man bad is not an argument. They're just unfounded attacks, and that's all we see. The next one was going after Kayleigh McEnany once again, as they have been since the start, with slanderous attacks. My phone won't let me type the name Kayleigh McEnany without correcting it to Kayleigh constantly. Seems right to me. I mean, possibly the worst joke ever written, but this is a trend that we see all the time. 2 specific things anytime the left reacts to Kayleigh McEnany. Or actually 3 things. The first is attacking her in horrible sexist manner. The next is claiming that she's a liar, or spelling her name like this, as you see in the comment section down below, KK Kayleigh, implying that she's some sort of white supremacist or KKK member. Absolutely despicable. None of these are arguments. They claim that Kayleigh McEnany is a liar. They call her Kayleigh McEnany or Kayleigh constantly, but they will be hard pressed to find a single lie from the former press secretary. Not a single one. I challenge Democrats to name a single crisis or to name a single lie ever uttered by this former press secretary. Her entire job for the short time that she was the press secretary for Donald Trump was debunking phony narratives. And you know, it all kind of comes full circle here if you think about it. This idea that Donald Trump's presidency was just filled with crises. Half of the supposed crisis or scandals involving the president have been disproven, have been debunked. Phony anonymous sources, a phony dossier, absolutely wacko out of your mind conspiracies, all of which ended up with the president being found totally innocent of all charges. These people are so disingenuous, so, how can I say this nicely, cognitively inefficient. Their political takes are so incredibly bad that it hurts. It hurts my soul. It hurts my brain. It gives me an awkward feeling in my chest of frustration. Take a look at this one. Here's the supposed crisis in Donald Trump's term. Charlottesville, an isolated moment in American history that was completely overblown, didn't necessarily have anything to do with President Donald Trump in the first place, was definitely not a crisis. It was just an isolated incident, and is something that has been falsely attributed to the president, the very fine people hoax, which the media deliberately edited out the president out of context and misled the American people. Democrats have nothing, so they continue to use these debunked hoaxes to defend their arguments. El Paso shooting. What? Las Vegas sniper. First of all, he wasn't a sniper, but how is that in any way associated with Donald Trump? And how is that even a crisis? Having his supporters gather for his rallies in a pandemic. Again, not a crisis. Not to mention, they were held in states where he was following guidelines and laws, and there's no massive super spreader outbreak that has ever been attributed to them. George Floyd, not a crisis. And again, not related to Donald Trump whatsoever. January 6th insurrection, which the FBI just released a report that completely exonerated Donald Trump and debunked the claim that it was a planned insurrection in the first place. It wasn't even an insurrection. I can go on and on, Kayleigh. I mean, clearly, because you're just pulling things out of your rear, and I'm sure you could go on and on spreading your unfounded misinformation. Here's another one. It's like Kayleigh has completely forgot when Trump completely mishandled the coup. And here we go again. The pandemic is somehow Donald Trump's fault. Kayleigh apparently doesn't consider 500,000 dead Americans a crisis. Trump lied, people died. I mean, first of all, pandemic protocols, mandates, restrictions are generally all handled at a state level. The president went above and beyond, supplying everything that every state needed. I mean, above and beyond. Even partisan Democrat governors were praising him for his work. And actually, if we take a look at the numbers, in 2020, over 500,000 deaths involving pneumonia, influenza, or the COVID-19. In 2021, a little bit over halfway through 2021, already over 322,000 lost lives. But it's somehow Donald Trump's fault, even though year to year it's essentially the exact same number. By the end of 2021, it's going to mirror what we saw in 2020, and that's with vaccination rollouts. Their arguments aren't fact-based, it's just emotion. It's seemingly a group of people who don't have the ability to critically think. It's seemingly a group of people that are so emotionally unstable that Donald Trump said something mean about Rosie O'Donnell. We get it. And forever from that point, absolutely lost their ability to critically think. There wasn't a single crisis under Donald Trump's presidency. Not one. In fact, the opposite. Crime going down, increased border security, the greatest bull market in American history, the lowest unemployment rates ever, even for African and Latino communities. Joe Biden's been in office for 8 months. He's undone absolutely everything. Economic crisis, border crisis, oil crisis, Afghanistan crisis, public security crisis. The coup is raging again. it seems as though it doesn't really care who the president is now, does it? But the liberal hive mind will continue being the liberal hive mind, living in some sort of fantasy land where a geriatric, incompetent, child-sniffing, Washington swamp deep state operative is somehow an upgrade from Orange Man Rad, one of the greatest presidents in American history. Give me a break. These people have lost the plot, folks. They're living on a different planet, and it's nearly impossible to coexist and to have a conversation with people who aren't operating in reality. That's what I got for you guys, though. If you enjoyed delving into the liberal hive mind, then make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm. I gotta get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.